Hey guys, and welcome to a new video. Today I will be talking about basic jungling and the things you should think about when jungling. There are a ton of different junglers for you to play, but you need to find the ones that fit your playstyle. Why am I saying ones? You will probably need more than one, because League is a very situational game. A quick example of this is I was in a ranked yesterday and I first picked Yi. Then my enemy picked Rammus and Shen. If I was last pick or behind them, I would have not picked Yi against someone who has an inbuilt Thornmail. Funny enough, we did win that game, but you can't always rely on luck, so I would recommend you to be able to play a big variety of champions. To give you some examples to different champs, I've divided them into two sections: early junglers and mid to late junglers. There are also junglers who fit in both categories, who you're able to always play, but again, it's always nice to be able to counterpick to different scenarios. So for the first category, the early junglers who are able to snowball the game pretty hard early and have nice early ganking potential, we have picks like Nidalee, Elise, Eve, Lee Sin and of course Shaku. But when do you pick these champions? A guideline that you can follow along that I use is when your team already has two tanks like a Malphite top lane and a Nautilus support, or if your team has one bruiser like Olaf or Renekton and a tanky mid lane like Cho'Gath or Lulu for example. It also depends on the enemy team, of course, how tanky they are, if they have a lot of escapes that are annoying for potential ganks and so on. For the mid-late junglers who are a bit slow early and not that nice at early ganking but scale very good into the mid and late game, there are champs like Udyr, Master Yi, Shyvana and Mundo for example. I'm not saying that these champions can't do anything in the early game, but they don't excel in early ganking and playmaking. With most of these you need some items and farm or the power stacks to be able to do good. Especially in lower elo, champs like Master Yi and Xin are pretty amazing, cause most of the time you don't really get shut down early by the enemy junglers, and after you got your Devour stacks and a Rage Blade for example, you can just melt down your enemies. Or in the case of tanks like Mundo, melt them slowly and stand in the middle of a fight. It's pretty obvious when to pick them now because I already listed when to pick the early junglers. So if your team is pretty squishy, like a Pantheon top lane and a Janna support, then you should definitely pick something like Udyr, Mundo and so on. I could have divided this into more sections like tanks and bruisers, but I don't want to overcomplicate it. And you can build Master Yi and Xin for example very tanky too, especially with the new strength of H's. So to sum this section up, you should try to make picks who seem useful to your team combination. Knockups and CC are also important aspects, or combos. A good combination would be a Rek'Sai and a Yasuo, where Rek'Sai can dive under an enemy and knock them up and Yasuo could just press his R. So now that we got this out of the way, let's talk about the mind game and the early game of a jungler. Most of the time you will be starting where your bot lane is, but with some champs you might want to start on blue to get the extra mana, and with some champs it doesn't matter, like with Shaco. Now you have to think about if you just want to do the normal route and start with Grump or the Crooks, or do the buff directly. In a normal scenario you always want to do Grumps and Crooks. That would be Grooks. Jesus. In a normal scenario you always want to do Grump or Crooks first, but whenever I see a Shaco on the enemy team for example, or someone else who is pretty good in early ganking, I just do my red and my blue buff to secure them both from being stolen, and then I move over to clearing the other camps. Another thing to note is if you want to do a full clear, or if your champion is even capable of doing a full clear. So let's say your champ is strong enough to do a full clear and has nearly full health after clearing the red side, and you could now move over to clearing the blue side. What determines now if you want to keep jungling or not are the ganking possibilities. Are all lanes pushing, or is one of your lanes getting bullied under the tower? The best possibility of course here would be to gank mid lane because it's the closest, so either tell your laner to maybe let the enemy push a bit or just react to what your laner has done. If your laner is pushed in, you could try again, and even if you just get a flash, that's worth something. Something you have to keep in mind is that it's always better not to get a kill than dying, so just stay safe and don't dive onto a tower that early. Only if you're 100% sure you're gonna get the kill. You can go back and buy some more items or look for another ganking opportunity. After the clear on the blue side, a gank on top lane would be favorable. Always ping before you're going to gank, so the laner has enough time to prepare for the gank. Don't ping aggressively though, because that might lead into the laner going aggressive when you're not even there, which then leads into them mostly blaming you. Just keep it safe and friendly. So now you're back in base and got some more items. From here you can decide again which lane could need help, is pushed in or out. Also some champs can do Drake or Rift Herald very early on. This can give you a big advantage. This might sound strange, but it's not always good to gank a 1-in-8 Vayne top. Yes, she does need help, but if you die on a gank or even if you get her a kill, will it help that much? Maybe helping your mid laner, who is 3-2, out is a little better to snowball a game, even though your top lane is probably going to be screaming at you in chat constantly. This is what you have to live with when you're the jungler. That is pretty much all you have to think about when jungling throughout the game. As it progresses, you just have to have the same thought as in the beginning. Where can I gank, or is it better not to gank, or do I keep farming cause there is no good opportunity? Everything else like split pushing, team fighting is just normal gameplay, and I will probably cover that in a future video. If you want something like that, write it in the comments below. This was only scraping the surface. If you have anything you want to add or correct, be sure to write it in the comments down below. Also, as you probably already know, my stream got deleted, so if you're interested in seeing me stream, then you can follow the first link in the description and maybe leave a follow if you want to do that. I hope you're having an amazing day. Goodbye.